I can't believe this room is warm.
Oh, it's too warm here. I put on a long sleeve shirt and it's going to be cold. Rip through
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we're back. So we will move all the way down to 631, it looks like. RCMP unionization costs.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Atkinson, be resolved that Council authorize the Mayor to sign a letter of concern to the federal government regarding the increased costs resulting from the unionization of the RCMP members. And I do believe it was, upwards of 25%, which would have a major impact on all municipalities, obviously including ours. Currently, we already spend a big chunk of our money from taxation to RCMP, so to have another 25% increase on that would have a major impact, to say the least.
Graham, could you go over your numbers quickly? Because I had a bit of a challenge understanding them.
So there's two parts here, right? Because their term and looking at their years doesn't really help because they run a March year end, but because the term of all the payments for this last rendition of their union negotiations is basically going to put us into 2022 owing 5 years of retro pay. There's going to be a fairly large bill there. Plus, the rates have increased, so there's going to be an ongoing. So in 2022, we're going to see a one-time cost of $383,000, but a total cost of $637,000 for that year of an increase. And then the year after that, if we anticipate based on their 2.5%, we're probably looking, around again another 200, short of 200 for that ongoing.
So not the back pay portion, but for 2022, it's 280,000 to hit?
No, so for 2022, we're going to have to probably, based on what we know now, we have to come up with 637,000.
But that then covers the back pay.
That covers the back pay.
Right.
So 383 is the back pay portion. We're out of that 637.
So without the back pay, our RCMP costs are going up at least 200.
Close. It's close to 200.
200,000 a year already.
So in 2022, or 2023, which won't have this back pay portion, we'll probably see an increase of about $200,000 from where we are in 2021.
Where we are. But it'll go down in 2022 because we don't have to cover that back.
Correct. Yeah, I feel like a savings all of a sudden, but it actually won't be.
But in that thing also, though, being unionized now, they will have, in whatever year it is, again, they will also renegotiate their things, right?
And just to be completely clear, we're heading awfully close to $3 million energy cost per year for our community. $3 million. What's our annual budget? $9 million? Or 12 million? 12 to 14. Yeah, so 25%. 25 cents of every tax dollar that comes into this community is paying for police.
So I'm sure probably another municipalities already thought of this and there isn't a way out. But like our contract that we have currently that we could never get out of because it's like a long term, it's like
20 years.
Yeah, 20, whatever it is, right? So is our contract kind of been, I guess, so maybe null and void now because the workers that we have in the contract are now being unionized? So that would make us open for negotiation for, things like reducing the number of officers or whatever. Like, does that make that contract void or no?
So are you saying that because they've changed the employee representation structure in the RCMP, potentially that invalidates our contract?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think that would be something that they would even consider a change.
No.
Where's that break point again, that numbers?
5,000.
5,000. Where are we at?
52?
52.
The new census numbers have come out, have they?
Probably
No.
January.
In January?
It's hard to say what we're going to end up using.
So should we give the RM Helcro Avenue or something?
I'm thinking, this cost sharing thing. Cancel that development, maybe.
That's difficult. And I mean, the conversation that always comes up at this point is, can we do our own police force? Historically, that's been worse. Usually the costs end up being well beyond what you pay the RCMP. Now, maybe as the cost goes up for the RCMP, it needs to be re-examined.
Is there other communities that are in the same position we are, though, like just on the verge and can't use technically sports for
Anyone over 5,000 people will be in the same boat.
Right. Yeah. There's like a sweet spot, right, where we're kind of on that low end where we're paying 70%. I think once you get over 10 or 12, you pay 100% too. So I think Thompson falls on the other side again and eats another 30%. So I think there's communities that are worse, but certainly some that are better.
And it doesn't appear to be anything we can do with it. Right?
So the thing we are doing here is we're lobbying with AMM to see if this retro pay can be paid by the federal government. And that would be great. That would be a significant impact on 2022. It would save us a couple mils. It certainly doesn't help us going forward, but that's kind of the direction they're going.
I expressed my concerns to the Minister of Finance last week, right, about this situation, so they're aware of it. I don't know, tomorrow they're appointing cabinet in Ottawa, so I don't know who's the senior Liberal in Manitoba anymore, but we should be contacting him as well, him or her. If it's Dan Vandell or that other fellow, they should be made aware, because this is just too much for our little town.
It's a lot. It's the first council to bring this up. I mean, it's always a big cost on the budget, and we have very little control over it. That's unfortunate.
The unfortunate part of it is if you get out of the RCMP into your own town constables or your own town police, and then at some point you decide to go back, then it could be another costly thing.
What's the cost of First Nation food for?
Well, that's a thought.
Maybe we should get a quote. Maybe we should get a quote. No?
I don't think they have the authority to be on non-treaty.
Probably it's on First Nation.
Another deal that gets signed with Justice directly.
So I looked on the population for Flin Flon, so you mentioned the other day, from the last, and they were just over 5,000. I would say like 5,100. So but they're gone.
They fell under the 5,000.
I think on the last census they were.
Were they?
I think so.
I looked it up on the weekend and they were 51. I never looked at them all, but there was one, I think 2016 or something.
Oh, really?
But anyway.
They're under right now. Okay, so letters will go out. AMM is lobbying. I'm sure it'll come up at the convention in a few weeks. All right, so moved by Councillor Lane, seconded by Councillor Atkinson. Resolve the council authorize the mayor to sign a letter of concern to the federal government regarding the increased costs resulting from the unionization of RCMP members. We'll call the question. All those in favor? It's carried. Payroll and accounts.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Atkinson, be resolved that council authorize the following accounts: pay period number 21, the amount of $25.18, general accounts number 27136 to 27178 to 27180 to 27193, in the amount of $204,556.21. EFTS, the amount of $48,377.19.
Was there any questions on the check register?
CPA Masonry is the work at the museum.
GNB doors.
That's what I was.
Oh yeah, they came out and they had to fix one of our fire doors blew apart. So they fixed that, and they also did some inspections of some of the other major doors, the arena, the garage, et cetera, et cetera. So they're out of Winnipeg.
So fire doors and the big red door there?
It was one of the ones on the side, the tensioner blew and it just exploded. But there was also, I think the reason they came out initially was for for one of the garage doors. I'm not sure of the details. I know that's why we're here. And then they did inspections of a lot of the other ones, tightened things, tweaked things. And a number of these.
Any other questions on it? Okay, we'll call the question. All those in favor? It's carried. Checks in conflict.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Forster. Be resolved that council authorize the following account. Memo check number 27179 in the amount of $1,150.67.
All righty, we'll call the question. All those in favor? And one abstained. It's carried. August financial statements.
Resolution number 2021-179, moved by myself, second by Councilor Forster. Resolved that council accept the financial statement for the period ending August 30th, 2021, as prepared and submitted by L Legacy Controller.
So I'll talk a little bit about these. Not a lot, but I mean, at this point in the year, we should be about 67 to 70% for our budget. Some of the anomalous things here, we've got some low revenues for the Wellness Center for KRC, which is a surprise. The closures, the slow starts, the airport revenue is way up based on the fuel sales, the expenses way up as well. Transfers are really high, transfer from reserve, that's the majority of that is all VMC funds. And a list of those here, they spent about $146,000 this year. The only other things, there's a missing amount for the deficit recovery, which needs to be plugged yet. And the utility, it doesn't look too bad on the operation statement, but there was a little bit of extra work on the labor side for the sewer on the labor report that we're still following up on. For the most part, we're majority where we should be for the year. I anticipate at this point, we're probably looking at a small surplus if nothing else changes, which is, again, probably where we should be.
Any concerns?
Not yet. As we approach the end of the year, I'll probably try and project once we get into October statements. I'm going to try and project the year end to see where we're going to be at. But at this point, there's still a few things to do. Some of the costs are still kind of tallying up. I don't see anything that blows me away. I would have liked to have seen us make more money off the airport, but we're investigating. Unfortunately, it kind of is what it is. Nothing really jumps out at me at being out of place. We've been pretty tight on our spending this year.
Okay, any other questions?
The KRC revenues, do you foresee that possibly increasing to the arena and going this year?
Well, it'll go up. For sure it'll go up. As we charge fees to the users, we get a lot of that stuff September, October. But I don't see us getting to where we hope to be. Unfortunately, losing part of the year is never good. And the Wellness Center, again, numbers are slowly trickling back in, but it'll take a while. And if we see any more setbacks, it'll go in the other direction again. Now, we did save some money there. We tried to reroute some staff when we could, but we didn't let anybody go either. So.
Okay. The mill rate effects, that's just for information at this time.
Yeah, just a bit of a discussion. I know it's something that was interest to me, probably have interest to you as we kind of move forward. I don't want to blindside anybody with the effects of the decisions we're making pre-budget. Obviously, this will come up again in the budget discussion.
And so budget discussion is when we start?
Usually we start doing the internal stuff, trying to figure out what the managers say, and they bring back their internal budgets. We kind of cobble it together November, December, and then it comes to you guys for review. In terms of planning, I mean, it'd be helpful to have our planning session, because that'll, if there is items that we want to consider, that's something I can start plugging into there to give them a little bit more flesh.
And what about, like, I know we've done in the past, like, any of the projects that, I know we're paving and stuff now, but is that timing based on our process, or is it, that's kind of what we plan on doing? I'm just wondering if we need pre-approval to get certain things. Purchase them done so that the whole thing's done.
Well, I mean, the work list is full right now, so we're not actively seeking anything beyond what's already on there. Again, it'd be interesting to see when we come over our planning session.
No, what I was thinking is like, so say next year you want to do maybe in June instead of October, you have to have approval earlier than you get.
So the paving we did here was just based on, they were all utility repairs. So the only reason it happened this late is because this is when we were able to do it.
Yeah.
But, and that would be okay. Like, I mean, we probably wouldn't be able to start until budget is passed unless it was consistent with what we've done in the past, I guess is the answer.
And that's about, like, say lights. So, are we putting up lights for the winter, walking path in the winter, or?
No, it won't be till next summer for sure. So that project took a bit of a backseat in terms of its planning. There's some work there. I know that they're working, but they anticipated that's probably going to go out hopefully before Christmas for an RFP or a tender, and then we'll see that installed in the summer of 2022.
Okay. All right, so resolve the council accept the financial statements. Call the question. All those in favor? It's carried.
That's a good summary of the knowledge.
635. Fire truck.
Resolution number 2021-180, moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Ward. Whereas Section 139(1)B of the Municipal Act states that a council may not reconsider or reverse a decision within 1 year after it is made unless a member gives written notice to the council from at least one regular meeting to the next regular meeting of a proposal to review and reverse the decision. And whereas Councillor Atkinson provided written notice to council at the October 12, 2021 council meeting to reconsider the decision to not purchase a new fire truck as per resolution 2021-161. Therefore, be it resolved that council accept the proposal from Westback Industrial Limited in the amount of $469,000 plus applicable taxes for the supply and delivery of a fire truck as per specifications. Be it further resolved that the accepted proposal is over budget and the difference be expended from the fire equipment reserve fund.
Okay. Councillor Atkins, did you want to discuss this since you brought it forward?
Sure. When the first resolution was presented, there was some information that was not attached, so there were multiple members of council that were unsure as to what they were actually voting on. That being said, the information was presented and council has had time to reconsider their decision as to whether or not they will vote in favor or against a new fire truck. Fire safety is also one of it's one of our major services that we need in town, and one of our services that we need to provide. That being said, that was one of the majority of several different reasons that I had in bringing the resolution back to the table.
Okay, so any discussion?
I guess just for the record, I just want to be clear. I was one of the councillors that actually voted against the fire truck, and my reason for it is not that I don't believe that we're required to have a fire truck, but to, as Councillor Atkins has said, is there was no information to provide us the appropriate information to ensure that we're making the right decision. There was no, as an example, we get a lot of details when we're buying road salt, and there just was a mistake that it was missing. So I do support moving forward. I do still have a concern with the budgeting process and it being over budget and us moving forward with this. But my understanding is that we shouldn't see an impact on any taxation because it's coming from reserves for multiple years. The delivery of this truck is a year late.
Any discussion?
I abstain the same way because of lack of information. I just need a little further information, Graham. Has the price changed from then until today?
So they were able to hold the price. He noted a few items where the price had gone up, but said they were willing to keep it until the 30th.
Okay. So in the, what's it called here, this little fire reserve that you sent to us, okay. In 2023, it shows a reserve opening balance 535, 54, and then the purchase of the truck in 2023 would be 469. Now, then when you go to 2025, it says minus 65,000. Does that, what does that?
Those are different vehicles. So the tanker is the one we're talking about now.
Yeah.
The payment will be due in 2023, the start of 2023.
Okay, that would be the 469?
That's the 469. Command 1 would be a replacement for the Suburban. We don't anticipate spending 65, but that's what we spent on the Suburban. So, I can't remember what year the Suburban is offhand. It's by that time it'll be ready for replacement. And then the next truck to be replaced after that will be one of the pumps.
Yeah, that's a few years later, right?
That's quite a few years later.
So just by going back to this, so it goes from 535, 454 in 2023, paying for the truck comes back to 181, 873, and then up to 295, and then the 65 off and whatever. So in the thing, the 6450, 50,000, and 6,000, whatever, that's our revenue that comes in.
Yeah, so the 6450 is the contract revenues from the various groups.
Okay.
It's based on what we earn now.
Yeah.
I would anticipate we will be earning or asking for more.
So.
Yeah.
So having looked at this, the fire department would have money in reserve should something else go wrong.
Correct. Well, I mean, and again, we're projecting ahead. So the only one we're projecting that's actually going to take place here that you're deciding on is the 469. If there is insufficient money for some reason in 2025 for the Command 1, we'll be looking at other options.
Okay. No, that's fine. Yeah. No, good.
And I guess to add on to this, I'm still hoping to get an answer back from Federal Gas Tax, which is now called something else, that they'll allow us to use some of those funds as well. But I don't want to put my hope on that.
But if we have this reserve money and do this with this,
correct,
then we should still keep the gas tax in place to do other projects, right?
Well, I would say in that case, we'd probably use the gas tax, or use some of the gas tax, and then cut our inputs into the reserve, because it's better to get rid of a liability on our books than it is to try and save.
Okay.
Right? So it's kind of the federal gas tax, we have the money, but it also represents a liability to us, whereas our reserves are our money. So that's a bit of more of a money management thing.
Well, it's like, we have a large increase in our CMP costs, but that's taxation. This is out of reserve, so.
Well, some of it's out of taxation as well. That's where the annual reserve allocation comes from, but it's consistent with what we typically put in. Where we have additional fire revenues, which sometimes we do, for contracts with NPI, when we go service other locations in the lake, or at the lakes, or in the RM, and are billing the homeowner, some of that kind of piles up on here as well. I didn't include any of that because I'm just going to go with what we're consistently kind of projected.
No problem.
If we have more, we have more. If we have less, then...
Again, just so I'm clear, the $680 potential dollars from the RCMP, that'll be a 2022 budget item or 2023?
So the RCMP is going to be 2022 for 600, and then in 2023 it'll be about 200 from the 2021 budget.
So if we actually have to pay that $680,000 in 2022, do you see reserve contributions staying the same?
I see this one not changing, and again, probably because this is a core service that we provide for the community, the fire protection. If we're not supplying the service, potentially people's insurances are just going to explode anyway. But again, had we been contributing to the fire reserve effectively all along, potentially we wouldn't be in the situation we are now. However, we should be contributing something. Now, if we can put ourselves in a position where the contract revenues are higher, maybe we can scale back on those reserve contributions. But not replacing the fire truck at this point, I don't know. It seems like an error to me because we're gonna come into 2023 with a truck that's broken down, and then we're going to be desperate.
Is it broken down because we're going to be? Is it really that reliable?
Yeah.
It is?
It really is.
So it doesn't start?
It starts, it runs. They did some significant work on the tank itself this year because it was leaking and rusted out everywhere. Is that going to hold? I'm not sure.
So is there a salvage cost that we could get if we sold that tank to contribute, or sell that fire truck to contribute to the price of this one?
Nominal.
It's
in 1984.
Yeah, no, I'm just asking. I'm just looking for.
Yeah, and I mean, in the past, the answer has been it's worth it more for us to just hang on to it as a supplementary thing. But I would also be in favor of getting rid of this thing. Now, are we going to get big bucks and contribute onto this? Probably not a huge effect.
Well, we got two sitting at the town garage now.
Well, and again, that's unfortunate as well.
Yeah.
But at this point, those things are valuable. I mean, for some reason, I think one of the ones that's been retired at the garage is newer than our pumper. Or our tank line.
Any other discussion? No. Okay, we'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. All righty. 636. Wasco, yep.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Atkinson, whereas the Paul Airport is currently operating without a qualified and experienced manager in 2016, and several attempts to hire a qualified airport manager failed. And whereas Council accepted Winnipeg Airport Service Corporation Wasco 5-year agreement to partner with the town of Paul in the operation and management of the Paul Airport. And whereas this service agreement expires October 31st, 2021, therefore be it resolved that Council authorize the Chief Administrative Officer to sign the extension agreement to December 31st, 2021 with Wasco in order to provide administration time to review a new contract, or renew a new contract.
So the story here is There is a potential saving to us here because they were approached, actually, because I directed them, but they were approached by Swan River to provide the same service. So they're hoping, we're supposed to, our contract actually ends right away, but we were hoping maybe to be able to leverage that into there and see a little bit of a cost decline. So extending it December lets us work out some of those details as they're negotiating and so on.
So do you see in the future that this contract is going to increase in price?
I don't know. Everything increases, but I'm hoping that the potential for savings will at least offset or. The benefit of this contract, obviously, the complexity of running the airport, and nobody here with those particular skill sets. Like even Wasco has had pretty high turnover in their airport managers over the years. Certainly, I think well before my time, but they had a real hard time keeping compliance with some of the regulations when we tried to do it ourselves. They've been extremely helpful. They are a little pricey, but we haven't run into any of those big problems again that we used to. So they've done pretty well, and the difference between us playing the game, trying to cycle people in and out of them is they have a bigger pool to pull from, and they seem to be able to get somebody immediately each time for the same qualifications or better to be back on the ground for us. So they've been really good. I wish we had a more consistent person. Sometimes you have to tell the same story a couple times a year and try and keep things arranged, but certainly better than me having to manage the airport from my office here, or Jen having to do the same.
Let's split you guys up. One person there.
So this basically expires in 6 days?
Yeah.
And we never made any plans?
Well, we did. We've been talking, but this Swan River thing came up about a month ago, and they've just been kind of negotiating. So a week or two ago, just after the kind of deadline for this council meeting, or last council meeting, they approached me and wanted to tag this on here. So some of this is just timing.
And if we didn't extend it, what would we do?
Well, you'd have Graham Keeler, airport manager, trying to struggle to figure that out, I imagine. And I don't think that that's really in our interest.
So what does this cost us each year?
It's about $100,000. Now, if we were to hire like a qualified airport manager out there, it'd probably be something similar, I would imagine.
And up to date so far, the revenues that come in at the airport or whatever have been able to cover this, right?
It varies year to year based on the activity. When we have really good years, typically they're in surplus. When we have slower years, where we don't see as much action, sometimes they're in deficit. Usually 1 year will cover the cost of a couple of years of deficit, so one service is up. It's a service we provide to the community in Edmonton. I don't know if there's much stomach for looking at scaling back the airport operations. I would like to see us, again, and we're talking about the campground, we're talking about the services out at the lake, I would like to see more of that taken over by the airport staff and having a better complement of staff out there. And I see that as a better kind of segue. If we kind of remove that, then Public Works has to drive the grader all the way down the road, up to Clearwater to grade the road and stuff like that. But, I mean,
So is there anything that we become non-compliant with by not having this signed by the end of the month?
No. The extension will keep Transport Canada happy and keep this moving. I mean, we can still consider the deal, whether or not we want to proceed with them in the future based on what they actually propose to us. The alternative here is we would have to either find somebody else who provides the same level of service, which I don't think there is anybody else. It's a unique operation. Or go to the well and see if we can find an airport manager and lure somebody over there.
Can we keep Swan River part of it again?
Yeah, so Swan River have kind of asked us a whole bunch of questions over the last couple months about their report, what do we do here, who do we deal with, and so been kind of fishing. So I put them in touch with our rep, and the result has been that now they're talking with Swan River about performing the same service for them. And ideally that'll create some efficiencies in terms of traveling to this location. We kind of got them on route. as well as just, being in the area potentially, if they fit somebody to stay, potentially they can run back and forth a lot easier. The biggest concern I had when he said that was, are we in competition with them already? And the answer is no. We're not in competition with them for anything, not fuel sales, not the type of services they provide, nothing. So I don't see this as a hindrance. I see this as a potential cost savings benefit. The other side of this is, the other side of this is that they've also been really heavily involved in our ACAP funding grants, and over the years I've seen them attain grants of almost the same value of what we pay them. Like we got that snow clear a couple years ago, we got the beacon, we got something else this year, and then they were also the ones that applied for the Prairie Can NAP, it was Western Diversification Funding for that $330,000, which was the furnaces, the terminal bathrooms, and the staff room.
They're going to try to apply it for that runway rehabilitation stuff.
And they were also doing that too, yeah. So
that's a big one.
That would be a huge project, and I just don't know that we could tackle that. Well, I mean, I would if I had to, but I don't know whether we could do a great job of tackling that. No previous experience.
Any other questions? No? All right, well, there's a resolution on the floor. So we'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried. All righty, moving along. Nothing. I guess we're into committee and board reports. Museum board.
Yeah, nothing, just a couple of highlights. Some of the masonry work has been done in the museum, but due to weather, I'm going to come back when it gets nicer and complete the rest of it. There's some discussion there. Again, the minutes were sent to everybody, but on security camera locations, discussion of potential donation of photographs of the construction of Hudsonville Railway, a few other like items there in terms of some membership renewals, discussion over the Heritage Grants project, which was completed. Project Rediscover, identifying Cadillac unknown artifacts at Dunmore Museum. And yeah, the next meeting is November the 16th.
Cool, thank you. Chamber of Commerce.
We did have a meeting October 19th. The discussion around I think I brought it up a long time, roundtable with Kirby kind of spent a long time with that. The AGM is planned for November 23rd. They're looking to do it in person, but thinking it might not be, or maybe a combination of both. So still trying to figure those details out. And then this marketing, or this chamber channel is a big push, chamber marketing channel.
Yeah, Jill mentioned today they're trying to do both.
Yeah, I know that's what we were talking about, like, so that you don't push it down, but
Cool. CDC.
there's some work going on. I didn't bring my report with me. Well, we heard it here, just gave an update. We do have an actual meeting with that could provide some more information on the tower with Dr. Manitoba and some potential plans and discussion.
Destination marketing.
Yeah, we had a meeting. Just a couple of housekeeping issues related to some previous grants that we made, and then just approving the grant for the top one, I guess.
Cedar Lake.
We did meet last week. It was an executive meeting, so I don't really have anything to share coming from that meeting. But Vision Quest took place last week. It was Tuesday and Wednesday, and it was absolutely fantastic. It was all virtual, and I had never participated in Vision Quest before, but it was amazing. What else do we have? I think we have our Vision Quest AGM that's going to be coming up next month around the 10th, I believe. And that will be planning for next year. And we will meet as a group again, as a whole group in December. This was just an executive committee meeting.
Recycling board.
28.
Okay, library board.
We met last week. I don't think I forwarded the minutes to you and all the reports. Audit and everything is all completed. The same programs are going on that I mentioned last time. There's the night at the library. That's like the night at the New Season thing that's going on. There was a tea that just took place. There's story time. And also, if at all possible, if there could be a call out on the Town of the Paul website for board members. And I can share the criteria and all that kind of stuff. And that way we can, pardon me?
What was that board for?
The library?
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we have a couple people who are thinking about, well, some people will be moving away, and one person has left. So we have quorum, but it would be nice to have a lot of people, if at all possible. So I'll do that. Thank you.
I met with Monique Kamen briefly last week to talk about some of their budgeting. They were just trying to figure it out. But some of the stuff they were talking about, they were really excited. And then they said they were really happy about all the updates to the annex. They said that the staff has gone over really well, and even the accessibility there has been a huge help on it. Nice to hear. Here's some positive feedback.
For sure.
Scan.
Andre and I attended on Saturday. The stats were read out, as Brent did, and usually always does. There was corporal or constable, Lacey Clarkson. I can't remember what her title is now. She did a presentation on restorative justice and shared the new program that's going on in Manitoba and all the different steps that a community can go through in order to trying to set up their own board. And I believe she's going to give some information to somebody at the table, but I don't remember exactly who that was, and move on from that. There was also James Wigley. He presented. He's the executive director from CMHA Parkland and the Far Region Con Valley branch. Gave updates on Oscar's Place and is holding very, very tight to the November 1st deadline of the doors opening again. And Andre, you can present on your background, and you can add to anything else that
Yeah, like you said, with that restorative justice, so it's a 2-year program with the RCMP, and they want to establish some committees. So the next SCAN meeting in January, the training person is going to come and provide some details on what the committee looks like, what's the makeup, how does it work, what you get out of it, what kind of training so you can support it.
I thought there was one here.
I guess there was 1 year, like 25 years ago. Yeah, but it's not active, and it's not with the new program right now. So right now, this Lacey Clarkson, she's working with lots of these policing to kind of train them too, because it's a big change for them. As Kerry mentioned with James Wigley, there are things that I took out is they're fully staffed. They have everything ready to go. They have strict guidelines from the province on curfews and bed counts and all that sort of good stuff. And their hopes and dreams are that the setting for a wraparound support system, public washrooms, harm reduction, etc. One-stop shop, he said, so it's pretty good. And then the other thing they talked about is the food bank.
It's very important that we bring that up.
Yeah, which was very surprising. I think they gave the stats that there's 185 families being accessing the food bank regularly. April 1st, 2022 is the last day for the food bank in our community, unless they can find another venue to run it out of.
Where's it being run now?
Out of the Friendship Center.
Oh, and why is it ending?
Programming they need to get back to. It's there's kind of been a makeshift plan to be running it out of there. So they're working. They're going to continue to run it here. It's just they're looking for another place to land it so that their staff is still doing all the work. But they need to get. They would like to go, but they need about 4,000 square feet. Pick up as once a month. And and our next meeting was till January 15th. Or January 15th. That was a pretty decent meeting.
That's really good.
We gave the updates on the washrooms, little presentation from the committee, and then also provided some information that council has done with regards to garbage cans, recycling, support of the homeless people right now with the washroom, and work that administration's doing around that stuff.
I think we were sending emails before, but I'm not sure we talked about it. You said fully staffed. How many people were they?
I wrote down quickly, Trevor, 4 full-time staff, a manager, 4 full-time, 1 part-time, and a few casuals. That's what I wrote down. And there's always 2 people at the building when they're open. And then the manager has a sort of a split shift, like they work part of the day, but then part of the night too or something. And like I said, they hire enough staff and all the training is underway. And Samantha Sharpman is the manager.
Thank you. Kelsey Planning District, there's been no meetings.
One question on
Sure.
Chelsea Planning District, Mayor. So we were talking about minutes in the last meeting. Where do the minutes go? Like, do they
Jen.
go on our, but no, I know Jen does them, but do they go? Because I can't find minutes on our.
There's not very many minutes before every minute.
Okay, like, but I maybe you can show me, Jen. I don't even know where to look. I spent hours figuring trying to, and I give up.
KSD committee?
There's been no meetings. I don't know anytime soon.
Okay, correspondence, the Food Cycler and Impact Canada, that's information, that's
Just information, they had asked to attend as a delegate, or a delegation. I just forwarded the information to you guys and you could decide whether to respond or not.
I think it'd be a good idea. I actually think I've seen this on one of those wine band shows or something.
Well, Vitamix makes one. Like
This is it, I think this is the Vitamix one, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
I think so.
Is this the one you talked about last time?
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I think it's just grinding and heat to your stuff to make it
Yeah, I
goes
don't
faster.
know what they would be looking at. They're just looking for a forum to show something. I wouldn't mind, I would see it, but.
yeah, if they want to present to us, we'd be sure.
Invite them to a meeting and.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't think there's anything for citizens, period. So we're going to committee of the whole. Do you need to change anything, Jen, or are you good? Good to go? All right, public works and maintenance. Any updates there?
Yeah, patching underway. We have that one big patch by the school all done. I know they've done one lift all over by Ken Shell and one somewhere else. So I don't know if they're back today. They were supposed to be back this week to wrap it all up. They were hoping to be done last week, but
Their equipment's back in town.
yeah.
I've
So
seen them down when I was coming here by my home.
They were working on 7.
So likely this week it'll all get done, all the patches. I'll send out a circular showing everything that's done. And that should be it for the year. But quite a few spots. So that's about it for public works and maintenance.
Garbage collection and landfill?
Yeah, I don't have much of an update. We did talk about it a little bit. We're still waiting on a bit of an update from the engineering firm. We're still following up. So, Sam had a bit more to say, but I'm probably not paraphrasing it well.
Have they done all their inspections or
I
site
think
visits?
so. I think we're just waiting for them to cobble together the results for us now.
Budget.
I know. It's on one end. Yeah.
Parks?
On the parks, I know there was a question about the winter parks. Me and Joe were talking about it. So, most of the previous plans had to do with, getting the lights in and, festive lighting and whatnot. So that probably isn't going to happen this year, just based on the timing. Since it's winter, we just didn't have the capacity to get the tender out. Mind you, we'd always kind of expected to get the tender out this winter and then work done next summer. So I'll still be in line with our grant. He is talking a little bit about buying some of the festive lighting in advance, but he's not sure yet about that, the details. In terms of the park itself, for the ice for the rink, we're not sure yet. It'll depend on our ability to do that. Manager probably be pretty happy about the fire truck purchase and more willing to put his other truck at risk to perform that, so that'll be good. More to come. And then on the skate park, I did circulate those photos earlier about the skate park dig, so that is underway. It's supposed to be returned to level for the winter, so the fence will come down. It's not going to be an impediment to anybody. Nobody's going to fall into a hole this winter, hopefully.
What's the timeline on that project being finished this spring?
I'm not sure if I should answer that publicly because some of the information they shared was, but this.
No, is it next year?
He's trying for
They're trying for next year.
Yes.
Some of the things just haven't lined up. I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But getting it started is certainly a good start. I'm sure he'll be in here to talk to you guys at some point about the next step to say, this is, where I am, and if there's a contribution from the town to get him the rest of the way. So that's that. I don't have anything for the high-level infrastructure plan. That's still ongoing. Do you want to just jump to the next one?
That's one where we have that grant for the...
Correct, yeah. It's still underway, I don't have any updates. So, the lagoon, I'm going to give you a good news sandwich here. Good news, we are under budget, about $500,000, which presents about $200,000 to us.
What percentage of the project is complete?
I'm not sure offhand. I don't have the percentage number. On that pricing chart, it shows what things have been done and where the money has been spent. The bad news is they're behind due to some of the deliveries of some of the mechanical stuff, things like that. But the good
is for the delay.
There should be no additional cost for the delay. So in this case, the good news is that Manitoba Water Services Board will be extending the deadline for the grant. And the only thing that's going to happen here is we'll continue as we are. The new cells won't be active for the winter, basically, so they will probably come online a little bit later.
So is it possible to get, what is the in-service date and get a percentage you can see?
Sure. Yeah, I've seen the Gantt chart circulating. I didn't bring it.
Yeah.
I can share it.
Yeah, I'm sure they have.
Yeah, no, for sure I can. I kind of stayed on this more about financial and just seeing the progress than, Sam sees me every day. So I can pull that for you. It's not a big deal.
When you know the spend at the end of the project, that's going to hold on. And trying to get everything.
I know. Right at the start, it's easy now. for sure. I'll get you that information.
Well, I think it'd be good for all council to have the in-service date, what percentage completely are, where they're going
For sure.
to be interesting. That's good.
Well, their delay certainly can't be from the weather this year.
No, they said the weather was really good, and so they got that portion done really quickly. And then they were waiting on the lift station and some of the other mechanicals, and they just were slow to come.
Okay, that's it for that.
That's it for that, yeah.
All right, meeting dates. The November meeting, is that the issue?
So, yeah, there's a council meeting scheduled for November 22, which is the fall convention. Depending on the number of people gone, I'm not sure if you want to change that date. And then there's also a meeting date on December 27th. This comes up every year. We deal with it every year. Up to you guys. Typically, it just gets canceled or moved.
So the 22nd, can we move it to the 29th?
For the November one?
Yeah. From the 27th to the 25th?
The 25th, yeah. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Probably just end up canceling that one.
Yeah, so that's, again, up to you guys. I think historically it does get canceled. I don't mind being here. I'm not going anywhere, but I won't speak for anybody else.
Those days are good?
Yeah.
Check. 29.
29th?
29th and
25th.
25th.
Cancel for December.
Yeah.
Wonderful. DMC. Issue sheet, AC.
So, this is just a calendar item coming up here. We had tabled the resolution for the DMC, a bit of a reshuffle there to bring back up in October. Here we are. Do we want to table it again? Do we want to just pull it? What would you guys like to do?
How's it working, Chad? You're a rep.
Yeah, I feel like things are a lot better. Things have been moving at a brisk pace. I think probably one of the biggest concerns that council shared was spending money and spending money in the right places. And I think that the committee has been working pretty hard to spend money and spend it in the right places. So I think things are working pretty well. We've had good participation from the committee members. I think it's been all around good.
Any discussion?
So you got comments left, or is it available?
I don't know the numbers offhand.
There's a sheet there Grant just gave me.
The only like when I was reading this, and it all kind of comes back to, I'm not saying yay or nay or whatever the whole thing, right? Just saying that I think the first topic of the discussion should be almost what's kind of the mission, what's the purpose, like that whole vision. So if it's about bigger kind of projects that aren't even necessarily on the local citizens' radar, it would be on a kind of council thing that's coming up, then that's something that's what we're elected to kind of be here for, and then maybe they don't get kind of addressed or get that funding because we're not on the committee, or is it, and this is back to the whole mission of it, or is it about getting locals involved and having people put in applications and stuff? So, because I see some of the struggles we have here, when we got limited funds, and we're like, oh, that might be a good DMC thing, but is that fit in with, because we're funding hockey stuff, which is great too, right? Let's say, and we're funding a variety of things here, but then a few things I think we've already mentioned in our meeting today, like, or at least I was thinking about, maybe that would be something that could be DMC, like the park, right, or whatever, some other stuff that we talk about that isn't necessarily in the public.
So I'll share you, so everybody knows the same stuff, right? So the opening balance was $231,141.47. Revenue to date is $42,082.93. Okay, and these were the checks that have been written thus far. So the museum brickwork was $20,000. The winter park lighting is $20,000. The Chamber of Commerce promo package is $4,700. The PAW Slow Pitch donation is $4,500. The Rosie Main Trail Committee is $4,500. The PAW Families Building Better Communities is $45,000, and that was towards the skate park. Town of the Paw Beautification is $13,500. Clearwater Lake Outdoor Club is $20,000, and Pasqua Trails Boardwalks and Trails is $13,500. So this year, they've spent $145,700. Item outstanding. Oh,
Sorry,
there's a
and I made a
top
mistake on that outstanding one, as I hear you reading it. That's the contribution for that parks equipment, and they haven't given me the resolution yet, but I think it's going to be for $25,000.
for $25,000. Okay, so instead of 11,500, it'll be 25,000. So that would mean they've spent $170,700, which would mean they have roughly about $100,000 left in the bank for this year.
So there's been ongoing discussions at the DMC about getting our terms of reference together. And that's one of our big items that we're trying to knock off here before the end of the year. There's been discussions about, Trevor, like what you're talking about, which way are we going, right? Like, are we going after events that get people into town that are staying in hotels, buying meals here and that sort of thing? Are we trying to make a bigger impact on the infrastructure of things to make the community more attractive to people? And we're trying to strike a balance, right? So I think probably when you do see the terms of reference come across our desks here, they're going to include, maybe some type of limits on what the DMC can spend, for each grant, and it may even include some guidance on how to spend throughout the year on both infrastructure and events and that sort of thing. I can't 100% say where that's all going to shake out, but those are some of the discussions that have been talked about. But, yeah.
Audrey, yeah.
Yeah, so the money that the DMC gets every year is what, $45,000?
It depends on how the hotels do. It's 25% of the accommodation.
So is it like, what's the average, or what's the range?
Usually 150 to 180 is the total accommodation tax. So,
Around 50. And then, so I do understand what the mayor was saying earlier, and I'm thinking about this. Should we be waiting to make any decisions on this till we sit down in council and decide on our budget, or sit down in our budget process to decide where our priorities need to be too? Because, I don't know if that changes anything.
I don't disagree, right? And it's council's call. There's no limitations on what they can do right now, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
So theoretically, your next meeting is?
I don't know.
Whatever.
It's
November
just
1st, right?
Yeah.
So theoretically, at your next meeting, they could spend it all.
Yeah.
No, I think the committee it seems to be a lot more active than it looks like it's. I'm just wondering for us as council, I'm concerned about the forecasting of fees, of all the things that we're doing here, and I'm just wondering if we should just have a good discussion first with regards to all the other things we're doing to make sure that it lines up.
But I guess at the end of the day, I don't disagree, but it may or may not line up because it's a group of, and this is where I'm saying, it comes back down to what's the mission of what's their mandate. And so potentially, Chad can come back and say their mandate is to fix everything on the walking path. And all their grants that they do are all the walking path. I mean, you pick it, right? There could be, there's probably 100 things that's
You
a
need to
problem.
focus on one thing.
Well, no. What I'm saying is there's 100 things. This is a problem. But we only have a certain pot of money. So when we see a certain pot of money there that could be, because again, we might feel should be used for here or there. Is that the right thing?
No.
Is that the right way to think, or is it just saying no? We got this committee over here. They get the locals involved, and then they can do it. I don't know, we just got the wrong kind of problem. Wish we had lots of money and I didn't have as many problems.
And from a perspective point of view, the annual allocation is 45,000. A couple more big grants, and that's all you're going to see is 45,000.
Exactly, yeah.
So,
And, you know, on the heels of that, there was, not set in stone, but there, you know, that was for phase one of the skate park, right? And the plan was to probably match that next year.
well, and when you look at the checks written to date, right, museum brickwork, that's Town of the Paw. Winter Park lighting, that's Town of the Paw. That skate park was from the initiative of the Town of the Paw. The town beautification, is Town of the Paw. The 25,000 for the playground equipment, that's Town of the Paw. If the Town of the Paw wasn't initiating these things, there'd be a big difference on what they've done this year.
For sure,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
And I think, with that being said, I think there's a feeling around the table that, you know, they don't want to spend everything, you know, throw the baby out the bathwater or whatever. And there hasn't been events going on, you know, there was one baseball tournament, we're going to be getting into hockey tournament, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, there hasn't been a lot going on outside of, putting grounds towards infrastructure type funding, and that's where we're at.
Personally, I'd rather turn it over to the CDC or the Town of the Paw, get it to align with the council vision. That's just,
Has there ever been a cap in the past as to how much money you can spend out of it? No?
What you can spend it on.
so, like, again, we do have a planning meeting coming up in a couple of weeks, or in a week, whenever it is. And maybe we can discuss it a wee bit more then. Okie dokie, plastic bag bylaw.
Yeah, sorry, Marge, I sat down with her, and she had brought up an issue they were having with plastic bags in garbage. They said there's been a significant increase in the bags that they're seeing and the trash created. This came on the heels of your call to me that other day. It was kind of funny, actually. But, yeah, so she's suggesting that we should probably remove that exemption from the bylaw when we reinstate no plastic bags in town. Up to you guys.
What timelines do businesses need to get rid of their recycling?
I would think a little bit. I can certainly ask around and bring this back to the next meeting and see, what a couple of the major users kind of stop limits are.
I think we should get away from it.
January 1.
Yeah, everyone. I mean,
Yeah, I checked and made sure with some of there was a little bit of an uproar the last time the plastic bag ban came into effect.
I mean, if we're going for January 1, that's months away. That's not too bad.
What do you mean there, Chad, like from the business side?
Yeah, there was some concern from the business side that they didn't implement it a little too quickly.
Which businesses are actually using plastic bags? Like, I don't get a plastic bag anywhere where I shop.
Extra food.
But how come, like, those biodegradable ones, are they just that much more expensive?
Yeah,
They are?
they're quite a
I
bit
think
more.
even the paper ones are more expensive now.
Paper's more expensive.
I think one of the main reasons this came into place was there was some health-related issues with COVID with those reusable bags. So the intent was don't keep reusing a bag that's going to just spread your germs everywhere. So
If a retailer wants to use the biodegradable ones, can they use those?
do you guys?
It wasn't in the previous bylaw, they were allowed to.
Really?
We just modified.
Yeah. We can modify it for sure.
Maybe that's go through the process and change the bylaw. I do think that, again, if you're going to project forward a few months, then you're giving them a reasonable amount of time to change. And so if you want to put the biodegradable ones in there,
I would.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Everybody's happy.
20-year biodegradable.
As opposed to 25 for the regular.
Yeah.
Just 2 years different.
Okay, I'll bring it back.
Tax sale information, I had asked for this to be put on the agenda just to give council a heads up of what happens at a tax sale. And
We didn't have one last year, obviously that's going back a couple of years to our last one. It's just a process. We have a date here, November 10th, where we have tax sale. There's some terms in here. What happens is every property that has a balance outstanding for 2019 or older, which is going to include some 2018 as well, because we didn't have one last year, is going to be up for sale. This is how we recover our outstanding taxes. I don't think there's very many properties left on the list. Typically, leading up to it, there's very few. There is at least one higher profile item on there, but again, I suspect it may disappear yet. Yeah, just information for you guys. You're welcome to attend.
The balance
Yeah, buy
is
anything.
paid in full.
yes.
Yep.
Well, no, sorry. So for the person who's in tax sale, all they have to do is pay the 2019 and older taxes to get out, or they have to go into a tax agreement with the town where we set up a payment structure for I think about a 12 to 15 month period, as long as they haven't defaulted in the past. However, if you're going to buy a property at tax sale and it's somebody else's property, you have to pay the full balance of the tax. And then anything in excess of that goes back to whoever the owner is.
The amounts listed, are those to the end of 19 or are those to in full?
There's both on there right now, I think. On this sheet in particular, I think we should be in full. Yeah, these are in full.
So the actual amount they have to come up with is less?
No, yeah, so the amount that these individuals have to come up with is less.
Okay.
So this is the amount of arrears and costs towards the property of the auction. So this is what we would offer for sale, starting a bid as a reserve bid at the auction.
Okay.
The amounts that they owe is slightly less. Typically it is, because then the current year taxes aren't being included. Right?
The sale is at 2 o'clock
Correct.
and the owner has until close of business to pay his taxes?
They can come right up to 1:59 p.m. and hand us the check or cash that day.
And it has to be before the auction starts?
Before the auction starts.
Okay, I thought maybe it was end of day.
No, once it starts,
That's it.
Now, in these properties that are listed here, are there any of interest that we should keep as a town?
Well, our reserve bid is the price of the taxes.
yeah. So there's two things here. So our reserve bid is going to be the price of the tax outstanding. If nobody bids above that, we will become the owner. Unless I'm told otherwise, which typically we don't want to do, because unless there's something extra we don't know about. This is our way of getting our taxes back, and things typically degenerate more after this point.
And if somebody, so if I bid and then I don't have the money,
They have to pay right then. So this is something that we've got caught on in the past, is when they bid, it closes, they have to go pay or pay the deposit. If it's over $10,000, they have to drop the $10,000 right there. It's non-refundable if they don't pay the rest. And if they don't pay right then, the auctioneer will continue.
okay, because that's, yeah, I remember that, someone saying that was a problem. Someone had bid on 2 or 3 things and they didn't have any cash, and then the thing was over. And then
You
they had
deal
to
with
have
it
another.
right then. And there's no cash in hand. Unfortunately, the property cannot be bought. So if there was a property of interest to the town, and I'm not saying there's anything on here, because I don't really see anything that I would go to bat for right now myself, but if you guys wanted to bid above that, I'm the designated officer, and I can bid against someone at the auction, potentially above that, but it has to be outlined by you guys as to how high you want to take them.
And when you purchase a property at tax sale, all liens are discharged.
Correct.
So if the mortgage is clean, any liens are clean, it is the only thing in Manitoba that will give you clean title.
Yeah, and they have to pursue the individual after that.
Okay, so I'm hopeful that everybody comes in and squares them away so we don't have to deal with this, because it's not very nice.
Correct.
We have taken properties back in the past.
We definitely have,
Yes.
even in my time here. Often it's the half burnt down ones that had no insurance in the end after knock them down.
Or the senior that forgets to pay their bill.
Yeah. Unfortunately, those are tragic.
Okay, 1025, building permits. I was looking for an update.
He was working on it. He said it was number 15 for the year. I was looking to get some assessment dollar value anticipated for the year as well. I know a significant number of those are lake lot ones. 15 for the year is what we're at.
So could he give us a report for next meeting then? That'd give him enough time? Yeah.
I think he blew away last week, so it's hard to tire out.
So we did 15 building permits
For the year so far.
so far. So, and when you just go on to the building permits required for anything or something?
No, there's kind of a range of things that kind of fit within it. Certainly building a new house. Renovations, it's not necessarily a dollar value, but when it goes into changes to the plumbing, the vapor barrier, the insulation, changes to the structure potentially. Manage could probably rattle it off a lot better than me.
Shingling your roof.
Shingling your roof is just replacement. Replacing your windows, probably not.
It's just a replacement in kind is not.
Correct. Typically, that's not something you consider a permit. It's usually more major stuff where, the balance for us is to go in there and make sure something's not being done wrong, basically, and protecting homeowners and buyers.
Who sets the requirement for a permit?
It's in our building bylaw.
So the municipality sets it up? Yeah. And it sets up what the building is required, what building permit.
So obviously the Manitoba Building Code plays a factor in here, but what we inspect, there's going to be a minimum in terms of what we do, but there's things that we can do more if we like.
I guess what I'm getting at, Graham, is the need for a building permit established by the municipality or by the building code?
Oh man, I think a bit of both.
It's established by the municipality, but we follow the OFC requirement.
Let me think about that answer and get back to you.
Okay. And certain properties.
That's a bigger question than I anticipated.
Okay. Certain properties are under OFC. Certain
well,
properties.
that's just the distribution. Who does the inspections? But if you're talking about like who requires us to do certain things and what those are, I know that there's kind of a range. I'm not sure if that's something they govern by the province, saying you have to do this or find someone to do it for you. And that's probably why we ended up with the OFC for a while. But then there's probably a range where it's like, well, that's all you have to do. And then we're going, well, we want to do this too. So,
I keep thinking of Trevor's comment at last meeting about the lakefront docks, right? Who's requiring it? And this is the same thing. Are we requiring the building permits, or is somebody over here saying you must have a building permit?
I think it's the latter.
Yeah.
And then we have some discretion about the details of it. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
It's funny you mentioned the lake one. We did have a meeting with their group of 3 or 4 of us in the province, got a couple different divisions, and they were batting around some of the ideas and kind of a full circle on this going, well, okay, you should be doing it, and then, well, we could be doing it, and then, well, maybe we should be doing the permits on lots too. And so they decided they were going to talk about it a little more internally and get back to us about whether this fell in Crown lands or what the details were. So we should hear back from that.
Cool. Okay, thank you. Planning and development skate park update. You gave it to us.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Let's touch on Halloween while we're at the new business. You had nothing for airport airside?
No.
So Halloween, I've been getting inquiries. What's the rules for Halloween this year?
Whatever you want. I know last year we kind of suggested that people don't participate in the door-to-door, based on just how bad things were. What is the message council wants to present this year? I don't think that things are as closed up as they were.
Is there anything from the province?
I haven't seen anything.
They have just general guidelines. That's what I look at. It's the basic stuff, wear masks, try to not handle candy, how long do we have, that kind of stuff. Thing I was thinking thought about it is that do we need to send a summary message from the town of the Paw to our community to say, hey guys, you know, we're having Halloween, let's make sure that we're not going to run over anybody, that our fire department's going to be out, use sanitizer, wear masks. And then the other thing I thought about, because I don't remember a weekend Halloween, how do these young goblins actually, do they go out at 2 o'clock and come home at 5, or do they go at 2 o'clock and continue to go till 8 o'clock at night, or? I'm not really sure, and I wondered if there was not that we could control it, but is there a suggestion that we could put out the messaging like, hey, let's try to run Halloween between 3 and 6 or something, or 3 and 7.
5 and 9.
They go out when their parents take them out, and if you don't want to hand out candy past 6 o'clock.
We get, tell me, you know, I get gazillions of kids.
Yeah.
So we like to hand out the candy and stuff. All the thinking though is that, you know, is there a way of, because it's a weekend. I don't remember what happens on the weekends. Like, did they go out earlier, or did they
Some of the younger kids used to go out at 3 or 4 in the afternoon.
Yeah, I think it'll be like 4 o'clock.
And then, but as a council, I think we could probably say like 5 to 9 or something.
or 4, I mean, I don't care if they're
Or
I don't think we can really say,
No,
but I think we can send out a please be safe message.
Yeah.
I think, I'm trying to think back to when I was on Cathedral, and it was a weekend. And I feel like kids started coming at around 2:30. And I was like, where is everybody? Like, is nobody coming? I thought it was so late that they started coming at 2:30. I think we had 615 kids that year. It was fantastic. The good old days. And of course, my neighbor had more than me.
Okay, so you're good?
I think so. I mean, again, so respect health rules, be courteous, and be safe.
Yeah. And I'm assuming like the fire department guys are usually out cruising around and stuff like that too. Do they do that?
I think they usually do something, hand out candy and check on people.
Yeah, like to do security and whatever they usually do. I thought they used to do that.
They do. Citizens on Patrol, I think, used to go around.
The ambulance and the,
I think the kids that we
Here's the police officer,
listed last year.
Okay, so new business items next meeting. Contact Graham, give him your wish list if you have anything. I know we do have a couple of things left for in camera.
I have a wish list about revisiting that 4-bay garbage thing again.
Yeah, I'd like to read this.
That's one thing I'd like to review again, is the 4-bay garbage rule.
I think we should move it on to 6.
I think unlimited.
unlimited.
So resolve that we now move ourselves into the in-camera portion of committee of the whole with Mayor taking the chair to discuss matters requiring our attention.